Hello, hello, hello. Russell Wright and Sue Bell. How are you guys? I should probably even unmute you.
Hi, guys.
It's really good to see all of you on the call. And it seems like just a moment ago we were all hanging out in Phoenix.
We still are, aren't we? Wait a minute.
Well, you are. You just never leave. That's why we're having it in Kauai next year.
Ah.
No. So today we're going to cover what the heck is a silo, and some of you have some questions. And let me just go ahead and make sure that I have the questions open while I see who's reviewing everything. Okay. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for spending the time to create such great questions. Hi, Steve. How's everything in Texas?
Steve's a happy grandfather, right, Steve?
Oh.
Yeah, he's got twins in his family.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's got to be ultra exciting.
Okay. One of the things that we're going to try to do with you guys, we haven't spent a lot of time muting and unmuting people, but with specific questions today, Sue, I was hoping that if somebody has any, we would actually kind of actually unmute them, God forbid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we don't do that on our regular webinars, but you guys are special. So that's what certification gets you, an unmute function. Texas is great. Oh, is it raining? Okay.
That's lovely.
You guys are both down there. There's Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Marcus, who left without giving me a testimonial. That's my definition of him now.
You're never going to live it down, Marcus.
I'm just teasing, brother. I'm just totally kidding. I'll get over it after the first month. I'm giving you guys, I'm kidding. Okay. Just wait until you unmute me, he says.
Yeah.
In that case, I have no plans of unmuting. All right. I'm just teasing you, Marcus. I hope everything's well. And yeah, blah. I hope everything's well for you guys. Katrina, it's so good to see you too. Let's go ahead and just jump in, and this recording will be available for everybody in case you have to leave or since you're working on other things.
All right, so this is, if this doesn't end up answering all of your silo questions, Kevin, by the time we're done, then please feel free to, not like you wouldn't anyway, but just please feel free to ping for additional clarification. But this was one of the slideshows I didn't cover in certification because I felt like it was pretty easy to do over a webinar. So we're going to get into the technicalities of exactly what defines a silo system and how we set it up, because it's not really an easy thing to draw. I've tried drawing it several times, and because there are the links in the menus and there's the links that are contextual, you end up with these links all over everywhere and you can't tell what anything is. So obviously the basic idea behind a silo is that it keeps one thing separate from another, the way that a silo on a farm keeps grain separate, corn in one silo, wheat in another silo. And silos in a website are basically the same idea. You keep the content in silo A doesn't link to the content in silo B, and so you define those concepts. I did get your presentation. You get those concepts clearly defined on the website because they don't interlink to each other. There are two types of silos. Okay, one of them is virtual, that generally happens with CMS systems, and the other one is directory-based. But it can also be, you can also do this in a lot of the virtual stuff today because they provide categories. You can stick the category in the URL string. Both types, the virtual and the directory, are comprised of menus and in-text linking structure. And it's important to actually link from the text too, and not just from the menu structure. You actually get more page rank juice passed from the contextual links in the text than you do from the menu structure. But the menu structure has to be, that's the thing that we actually focus on in order to not bleed the theme. In other words, if you're talking in the text and you absolutely positively have to link to another silo, to another page in another silo, you can do that. And it's not going to like destroy your rankings. Just, be mindful of how you do it, and if you have to do it a lot, then it's ideal to link it to the silo landing page. And it's just one of those, like, if you're sitting in a peanut butter silo and you have to link over to jelly, like I just just ask yourself, do you really need to link to the jelly silo? And if you do, just go for it. All right. Virtual silos, they don't have a folder structure. They rely on their linking structure to create the silo. It's not as effective because you don't get the extra keyword there in the URL string. And so I can't recommend those types of websites if your terms are really highly competitive. But they're just not as common anymore. Anyway, however, it's much easier if you're going to redo a site. It's easier to remake it. You don't have to put in the 301 redirects if you leave the URLs where they were and you just change the linking structure. All right. So the directory silo structures, this is what you get to do with it. Get to do in WordPress and HTML and even Joomla if you dare go there. The silo landing pages tend to be the index file in that folder, unless it's a blog, because then it's not actually an index page, but that's cool. All of the articles for that silo are contained within the folder. And hang on a second. And we recommend at least 5 articles to establish the theme. So the idea there is that you've got 5 articles plus a silo landing page, and they all link to each other. And if you've got 6 pages that are all interlinking like that, that basically is enough to establish the theme. If it's a really niche term, then obviously you don't need that much. This is why we came up with Domain Web Studio, that column in Domain Web Studio that says suggested supporting articles, because I had people that were trying to do anything from a little teeny niche to a huge keyword, and they were putting in 5 supporting articles and then wondering why it wasn't working for the really competitive term. So whereas you need 5 articles, this is from back in the days of Bruce Clay, where you need 5 articles to establish the theme, obviously you just look at what Domain Web Studio is suggesting for supporting articles to really be able to establish the theme based on how competitive it is. And then we've got a couple of sample sites. That just give you ideas. They're actual examples of siloed sites that that you can take a look. Let's just see. I haven't clicked on these in a long time. Actually, the link doesn't seem to work. Hang on. It might be because I'm full screen. Don't know. There we go. So this is one. And this is the other one. I have yet another one. I've got credit help info. So between those 3, you can get a fairly decent idea. This is one that I actually put together for somebody, and the thing that's cool about this particular site, new.themezoom.com, is that I actually show the contextual links as well as the menu links on the side. This one was one that we actually put together several years back, and I'll just make sure that it's not got anything yet. So you can see the you got your silo menu along the top, you've got the articles within that silo on the side, and as you change silos you can see those articles change. So, all right. This is a sample blueprint that I did in Kraken. And this is an attempt to explain the linking structure. You can see how convoluted that it gets, how quickly. So one of the questions that Kevin asked me was if the silo pages link back. I can't remember whether it was silo pages linking linking back up from the article pages or not, but basically yes. So your home page, obviously on your home page, you're going to link to just your silo landing pages, right? Your silo landing page is going to have a menu on it that links to all of the other silo landing pages, and then your silo landing page is also going to have a menu on it that links to all the articles in that silo landing page. And that both of those menus are going to be on each page in that silo. Does that make sense? So let me just come out of this again, come back to a real-world example, and you can see that if I come over here to another article in this silo, it's still got that menu for all the other articles in that silo on it. Makes sense? Okay, then the other thing I talk about is that there's optional anchor text, which, so on my silo landing page, I'll oftentimes have like a paragraph that introduces my most important concepts in that particular silo. So in silo landing page 1, I might have a paragraph that talks about article page 1, just a short couple sentences, another one that talks about page 2, and another one that talks about page 3. And as I'm introducing those topics, I'm going to link to them contextually. And to me, like, that just makes sense. I'm on a silo landing page. I'm on a category page, right? I'm talking about a category of topics on my website. And so you're going to talk about some of the things that make up the contents of that silo. Now, this isn't hard and fast. This is just what I found just kind of works naturally and works well in a lot of the silos that I'm doing. So as I introduce those topics, I'm going to link to them. They're obviously going to be the most important topics. They're the ones that I want to talk about the most anyway, and so it ends up passing the most page rank naturally to them. I wouldn't introduce more than about 5 topics. That just starts to get the page completely out of hand. So, you know, as I said, all of this is just like best practices and not anything you have to do at all. You don't have to talk about your articles on the landing page at all if you don't want to. All right, then we've got 4-level sites. And this we brought into Domain Web Studio for the first time in Kraken. You had to like jump through a hoop to make a 4-level site. And if you're in especially tough markets or if you're doing an e-commerce site, these work out well. So this is the idea of you've got a silo, underneath the silo you've got a category page, and underneath the category you've got a supporting article page. So this 4th level are the supporting articles. And you link to, okay, so I'm going to show that here in a second. Let me just pop to this and let's talk about it. On the home page, you've got the silo, you link to and from the silo landing page to and from the category page. Now, what happens when you have a 4th level down that just links up and down like this is that you end up actually drawing page rank from the Apple silo landing page, because when you're here, instead of all of the page rank from here going back up to the silo landing page, some of it ends up being split and goes down to the supporting article page, right? So you're basically drawing page rank off of the silo landing page and pushing page rank down into the supporting article page. So if you've got an e-commerce site, oftentimes your silo landing page is something strange, like kids' clothing. Not strange, but just like really generic, and possibly not a keyword that you really want to rank for. And so you don't care about whether or not you're taking keywords off of something like child's clothing, kids' clothing, something like that. So what you really want to rank for, the keywords that are most important, are your actual product pages all the way down here at the bottom. And if that's the case, then this linking structure is great. if it turns out that this is actually a really important keyword for you, Apple technology or whatever, then what you want to do is down here on your iPad page, your supporting article page, you want to link right smack back up to your Apple silo landing page and avoid linking back up to the category page. When you link back up like that, and I would do this as a contextual link because your menus are probably going to be pretty consistent, and you're probably going to have to jump through a hoop to make that change in your menu. But you can easily do it contextually at the bottom of the iPad supporting article. You can say, for other Apple products, see, and then point back up to the site landing page. What that does is that pushes that page rank back up to the site landing page so that what would have been lost by this particular configuration over here is regained by having this flow around like that. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions on that?
Did you get the header question that Kevin asked?
No.
Okay, he says, does main silo header stay on all pages?
Main silo header. Stay. The silo menu, I take it you mean. Let me just bounce back here for a second. This menu is going to stay on every single page. And if that's what you mean by silo header, which I figure probably is, then yes, that menu is on every single page.
Yeah, that was correct. Okay.
Good. All right, now let me just think if I've covered everything. All right. No follows. I don't use them. What no follows do is it reduces the amount of page rank that flows from one page to another. So in other words, let's say you've got a page rank 6 page, and you're going to have 3 outbound links on that page rank 6 page. I mean, it doesn't quite work like this. It's not going to pass all of its page rank out, but if you were going to look at it as each of those links were going to be worth a page rank 2, and you no-follow one of them, that weight of that page rank 2 that would be passing from that one link just goes away. It doesn't get redirected into the other 2 links. It just evaporates. So you can imagine if you've got 100 no-follow links on your site. Let's say you no-follow your Contact Us page. On every single page on your website, you've got a link that goes to Contact Us, and you no-follow every single one of them. Then you're literally bleeding all of that page rank juice off of your site, which is just atrocious. There is some amount of page rank that's passed, and depending on where the no-follow is, it seems like, I mean, it's actually impossible to tell, but I can safely say that despite the fact that the links on YouTube are no-follow, I see link juice coming off of YouTube. The same thing with Facebook. So, although not everything is no-follow off of Facebook. So, I don't think that a no-follow is the same all the way across, but Google invented it in the first place. It's not one of those W3C standards. It's a Google contrived thing, and so it's at their whim to redefine how they want to use it, which they have a couple of times since they came up with it. So originally it was designed so that forums weren't passing citations, link juice to the citations, but in the meantime it's gone a very different direction, and yeah, I just don't like using them unless you absolutely have to. Now, the case where you absolutely have to is if on your site you have a banner ad that somebody's purchased from you, you need to no-follow that. If you don't no-follow things like that, then Google will actually ping you for selling links and not no-following them. So those are the one places that I would actually no-follow things. I'd probably no-follow them if I had a forum too, just because. All right, defining your DNA. We talked about this quite a bit in certification, where you've got three aspects to your DNA. You've got your parent theme, we've got supporting keywords, and we've got synonyms. And then we talked about the EK DNA, and we actually went pretty far on that on Friday. All right. And then we talk a bit about creating a blueprint in Kraken, which is a little bit beyond where I wanted to get into today, because that's easier said than done. I mean, easier seen than described. And if you guys are interested in doing blueprints in Kraken, we can definitely come back and have another webinar, and I'll show you how those work. That's still about Kraken. I'm just seeing if there was anything else in here. I think we probably got through. Yeah. Oh, properly themed inbound link. All right, so that's we didn't really get into that. When you look at the context of a page, you've got the title of the page, you've got the category that a page sits in, if you're talking about a blog or, you know, basically the silo structure, right? Even in a non-siloed site, you've still usually got some kind of a category that a page is going to sit in. And then you've got the actual anchor text itself. There's been a lot of talk recently about varying your anchor text and using such great phrases as click here and some of those, and I just like that just makes my stomach turn when I hear people in the SEO industry saying that you ought to use terms like click here. But what we've talked about is, because you've got those three aspects in your keyword DNA, you've got the parent theme, the synonyms, and the supporting keywords, you've naturally got a diversified portfolio in your inbound linking repertoire, right? So you're using a bunch of different keywords for your anchor text. So you're not going to have the same problem that everybody else has got, where they use the same money keyword, which is the one keyword that they're really focused on their page, and so it becomes just blatantly obvious that, you know, they're targeting a keyword. Like, that's what Google's trying to avoid, is somebody going out and obscenely targeting the keyword, where on the page it's in the name of the page, it's in the H1, it's on all the pictures, it's repeated 6.3% of the times in the text, and then every single inbound link has got that anchor text to it, right? So within that scope, we're automatically diversifying. We've got our parent theme, which is the main keyword that we target, but we also diversify with these other keywords. So when you're looking at an inbound link, you want to consider the if you're creating the inbound link, right, then the title of the page, the category that it's sitting in, and the anchor text are important. And I would say it would be wise to create those things out of your keyword DNA rather than just targeting one keyword. It's most effective if you target one keyword, but you know that the whole point of having that diversity in the keyword DNA is to give you the opportunity to mix that up a little bit. So particularly with synonyms or with plurals or with things like that, you can get close without being absolutely spot on. So if you're doing, like if we're going the links between blogs and the website, if you've done your theme mirroring on your blog, then obviously your category and your title is already going to be set up. And then you're going to link across as you blog about stuff. The topic of your blog post is going to change, and it's going to rotate through your entire keyword DNA. And so then you would just pick up that appropriate keyword and use that as the inbound link. And so that was just one of those connection points that I wanted to make sure we talked all the way around. Yeah, so then obviously Matt talked in depth about the promotional blueprint and how it talks to you about what it is you need to do and exactly which keyword you need to use. And coming with the next version, I really got to update the slideshow, I apologize. All right, so we can already do all of that. And bolt on silos to existing sites. I'm actually going to do a whole course on this, how to bolt on a silo to an existing site. I've gotten enough help desk requests on it. I would expect to see that probably early next month. But basically, all you have to do to bolt on a silo, I have a memory that we might have talked about this in certification already, but basically all you have to do is just create the silos as you usually would, and then you add them in to your menu structure. So if this is your existing site and it's not particularly siloed, then you can add a silo. You create the whole silo structure as you normally would. You can use in this case, if it's a blog, you use a blog plugin. And then, or if not, like this one's HTML, you would just create those pages. You create the directory, you put the pages in the directory. And then right here, you would just link to that new silo landing page in that new directory, that new folder. And Bob would be your uncle, so it's not an exceptionally difficult thing to do. All right. Yeah, I'll get back to you. Those are a couple new things that I'm looking at. Which one was, it was advanced web ranking, wasn't it, Russ, that you tried and really liked?
For which item?
For analytics. I'm pretty sure it was advanced web ranking.
Yes. For analytics, it's not for analytics. It's for ranking.
I'm sorry. Yeah, not analytics, but ranking. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Wrong title, but that's the idea.
Why is it the idea? I don't understand.
Oh, just ranking actually was the point that I was trying to get across in that slide, rather than analytics.
Yeah, I mean, you can use Google Analytics for basic average ranking, but they don't give ranking. And then advanced web ranking. Keep in mind, guys, that there's two tools out there. I've known both developers for years, and so I don't want you to get confused. And there's advanced web ranking, and there's advancedwebranking.com is my current best in show over about 7 different types of ranking software out there, all making really exorbitant claims. I can tell you that I've used them all, and a lot of them offer great stuff. I just personally like advanced web ranking because you can import stuff directly from your Google Analytics and show it side by side, and that's really cool. At least until we get our ranking factor aspect inside AWS, which is non-trivial. But until that point, I'm using advanced web ranking and actually hoping to emulate some of their features for DWS or for the Network Empire software coming up. But that's a good application. It's a good application. There's another tool out there called Agent Web Ranking. Since they're both AWR and they both use AWR as an acronym, I'm not speaking about Agent Web Ranking. Agent Web Ranking is a tool that I used. Actually, it was the first ranking tool I ever used about 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and they're still around. They're out of France, and they still are functional, but they don't have the kind of sleek developmental user interface, and also they don't have the insight into the ability to add more data sources and more data points and show them side by side, specifically Google Analytics, for example. You can import from pay-per-click and show pay-per-click side by side for ranking. So I'm not talking about agent ranking, I'm talking about advanced web ranking. Okay.
All right. So question number 2 that Stephen had was about setting a budget. I might just read it out loud. When the budget is set for an amount for market and Domain Web Studio comes back with a cost associated for each keyword, my understanding is if only a few keywords come back to meet the budget, then the budget needs to be increased. How many keywords need to be highlighted? You know, you can approach that from 1 or 2 different ways. You can either increase the budget or you can go find some more keywords. How many keywords need to be highlighted to be within budget to start ranking for them? For example, good. If the budget comes back for, say, dog videos, but all of the other associated keywords are out of budget, the budget is then increased, and a few more keywords come into play. How many keywords need to be available to rank for this term? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, ideally, so let's just say, and I don't have the main web studio open, so let me open that up for a sec. Hang on. You guys have to promise not to steal any of my domination project concepts, okay? I don't think there's anything in here that's serious, so that was... I'm not too worried. All right, let's try this one. Good, we've got some silos over here. So, if for example, oh, this is just completely wrong. All right, so ignore that. Clearly, whatever it was I imported is just completely funky. Maybe not. Anyway, so according to this, it says home loans needs 12 supporting articles in order to rank for it, and it's going to need 289 inbound links. So the idea, like we look at each keyword on a one-by-one basis. So if this keyword says that you need 289 inbound links to rank for it, that's what you need. I know it's cheaper by the dozen, but we don't know for sure that you're going to have a dozen other supporting articles in this silo. So we just say that so long as you have the 12 articles on your site so that you're establishing the theme on site, then you're going to need those 289 inbound links to rank for that term. Now, understand it's an estimate, okay? And the more competitive you get, the more of an estimate it is. And I'm just as I sit here looking at this, I know how competitive home loans is, and I suspect that I haven't established my business rules properly to bump it up for the appropriate. Yeah, I'm actually targeting a niche here, which is why home loans comes in at such a ridiculously low amount of inbound links and supporting articles needed. And I suppose, I don't know if we ever made that terribly clear before or not, but you do need to, like, over here where we've got this page rank, average competitive page rank is set at a 1 because I was looking at first-time home buyers. AZ is actually my term for this particular project. So, like, just know that if you've got this set at a page rank 1 and you come over here and you know you're looking at stuff like home loans has got to be a page rank 6 or 7, I would guess. So clearly these figures aren't going to be right for a term that's that competitive. However, if everything else were equal and you've got everything in your blueprint and it's all set up the way that we tell you to set it up, then you should be able to just throw that at that one keyword and rank for it. Just know that you'll come in, like if you rank for the keywords underneath it, so like I've got this up here, if I rank for all of these, then ranking for my silo term is going to be that much easier, but there's nothing that says you have to rank for those first. Dumpsters. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Kevin. All right, so does that, I know you cut out for a few minutes there, Kevin. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question? I'm reading his other question, which is after completing the silo structure in Domain Web Studio with the keywords I want, when I create pages and posts for the keywords, does it just have to be the keyword that's in the title? For example, if he's got dog videos, does the post or page title have to be called dog videos only? No, it should be expanded. You should call it like the 10 best dog videos. Okay. Sure, no problem, Kev. So, so all of these over here, oh, that's kind of, dang,
Remember
yeah.
that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Don't get me started on this topic. Kevin, persuasion architecture has to be superimposed onto silo architecture.
Yeah. So I'm just realizing that all of my samples are just that. They're samples, and all I've done is just taken the keywords and used the keywords, right? But that they are samples. And
And the
exactly.
problem with that is that, the problem with that is that you don't get to see, you see the silo, the technical framework, but you don't see the persuasion architecture or the context. So every time you have a keyword, be sure to put, remember what we talked about in certification? Keywords are actually question statements. Keywords are actually part of a sentence. And the sentence has to be addressing painkillers. Otherwise, you're building in, you can have an immaculate, we covered this really well yesterday in members-only webinar. You can log into the regular members area and grab that. It was pretty good. Point is that we're giving you the skeleton, right? And you have to add the context, and the context should be stacked on top of the framework. So you might do really well in the framework and get an excellent SEO benefit and get all the rankings, but if you're not converting because you haven't addressed contextual questions or given great information, then all of your SEO created content's kind of lame, right?
Exactly.
Makes sense?
So as you look at the entries on the SERPs, and you realize that this is going to be your title tag, right? And this is your description tag. And what you're basically trying to do there is make the way that this is made into an AdWords ad. What you're trying to do is basically the same thing here. You're trying to make an AdWords ad out of your description and title, so that you're actually buying, you're selling the click, right? You're driving.
And let's look a little bit closer at the persuasion architecture. See how terrible that AdWords ad is?
It's horrible.
Videos-facebook.com. They're obviously making it, that word might trigger an activation to Facebook, but they're actually promoting a Facebook URL. It's really interesting and should be looked at. That means that they're just going purely for the viral traffic, and probably just the Facebook brand itself is pulling traffic. But what I want to point out here is look at dog video in its bold. So that's your technical architecture, right? Your silo. You already know that's the keyword in the theme cluster. But look at some of these dog videos Hall of Fame, right? That's kind of interesting. In other words, it's taking that context and put it into the idea that there's more, and that's not. And you can it kind of implies that you get to see the best dog videos ever. So that's clickable. And that's an example of something you can use. Cute dog videos. You see how the qualifier actually turns it into something more interesting? They're not just dog videos, but they're cute dog videos. Another way of taking a keyword and creating a qualified persuasion architecture on top of it, or a contextual framework, is weird dog videos. You can pull the Frank Kearns on there if you want. Okay, you can do the insane dog videos. Anytime you create intense qualifiers, it's more call to action. But again, you guys got to keep this in the context of the site, right? Who are you making the site for? What's the sentence for? What's the structure? What's the painkiller? Are you trying to use this sales page to close leads? Are you selling? Is it a sales letter? Is it a squeeze page? So these are the things. Top 10 funny dog videos. You see how that's a painkiller article method, guys?
Yeah.
See how top 10, as soon as you quantify, what that does to the brain is it's like, okay, well, there's a limited frame. There's 10. I can handle that. I can take time out of my busy day. If you said, the top 1 million, people might not even click it because they're busy. So these are the things. Had a rough day, meh. It's not terrible, but so hopefully you guys get, what Sue and I are teaching you is the silo and the theme clustering DNA framework it's not an excuse to drop the ball on your what we call persuasion architecture and your conversion architecture. Okay. Here's another good. Actually, there's another good headline down at the bottom. It just doesn't have enough ranking. The 8 happiest dogs on YouTube. See that one? That's a painkiller method where it quantifies based on numbers. Yeah, the 10 funniest, the 10 best. Those are all good. They're just not ranked. They don't have the juice.
Right.
See that? And you will have the juice because you'll be siloed. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense, because I don't know what it is. It seems to be the theme of the month, you guys, and I want to cover this better in our upcoming webinars. The theme of the month seems to be clarifying in our students' mind the difference between persuasion architecture and silo architecture, and realizing that they're transparencies. They can be superimposed, and we taught you guys that in the ISDNA model. That's why we give you ISDNA, because when you do the ISDNA first, it should be really easy for you to wrap compelling and converting sentences around the keyword architecture we give you. Okay. There, I'm getting down off my soapbox. Getting
Okay.
down off my soapbox.
All right. So, how are you guys doing? Has everybody started, with the exception possibly of Steve, has everybody else started on their world domination? Anybody got any questions?
Bueller? Questions? Anyone? Okay, cool. I guess you've solved all of your problems, and you have cash flowing into your bank accounts right now. Excellent. All right, we'll move on. Here we go. All of a sudden, the questions start coming.
Okay, when is the big red button coming? It's coming. I don't have a date yet. I can't. It's not close enough for me to be able to give you a date, but we've made progress on it, and
Yes.
yeah, we've made progress on a couple of interesting fronts. Actually, we've got the best ping list. We've got
Which big red button is he referring to? Is it the big red button that you press and it destroys the world?
Yeah.
Or we have several big red buttons being
no,
constructed.
that's the one. He wants the one. He wants the done for you networks.
Remember, Steve, that you got to be specific in your requests to the universe. Okay. Okay, Kevin wants the ping list.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to show you where that's
Kevin,
at.
Yeah, I can either grab it for you, or we'll just show you where it's at. We have it inside this, the one feed over-the-shoulder video series.
Yeah, this is all going to be changed when you wake up tomorrow. Like, this whole menu structure is going to be made a little bit more sane.
The domination baby. Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay, that one. That's a somewhat specific request. You mean world domination world domination in general, or world domination for every market? I mean, again, be careful what you ask for. Somebody has to manage that.
Here's your full ping list.
There's a full ping list, yeah.
I will copy that link location and shoot too.
If you guys have any requests on or additions for ping lists,
all right. Anybody else? Questions?
Bueller? Okay. Well, that was the main thing that we wanted to cover.
Yeah. I got several questions in. Dang, I meant to write down what those questions were from the Aussie ladies too. But there's been a lot of silo questions recently since you guys got home, so that's why I thought I'd cover all that. On plugins, you guys got his thumb drive. You've got all the best of the best plugins. We're actually going to be redoing our plugin list.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, the plugins that you have are primarily targeting things that I use on WR2 networks. But yes, I got an update from our outsourced team this morning on plugins. Generally speaking, rules of thumb that are guidelines. I'll just open these. I seem to have lost my place again. Oh, here it is. Generally speaking, if you go to WordPress and the plugin hasn't been serviced for a couple of years, you might want to avoid using it. You don't have to go there, so you just want to. Comments plugins. Comments are a really interesting conversation, Kevin. Comments on the WR2 networks. On the WR2 networks, I currently don't accept comments. I steal and remix comments throughout the web for SEO ranking. I don't really manage comments. In fact, I just automatically blow them all away. That's not necessarily the way that you want to do it on some platforms. I'm talking video platforms. Things like there are some things you can do with comments, especially with opt-in, Monster, and other tools that I use. You can actually I actually grab emails from people who are trying to leave comments through an automatic service called Mac Subscriber. It's kind of ironic that you can just spam the spammers. I enjoy doing that. Those are on WR2 networks. Comments plugins, I'm getting good luck, Kevin, on the Facebook add-on for comments that Optimized Press uses for launch pages. That's a pretty good one. But again, that's WR2, and keep in mind, sorry, WR1. Keep in mind that you really want to manage those comments and conversations when they come in. You don't want to just leave people to talk amongst themselves because bad things happen.
Exactly.
I was on one of my automated Facebook fan pages last night, and there's a conversation that actually has 70 or something like 60 back and forth with the commenters, and finally ended in a fist fight in the end.
Ouch.
I hadn't visited the Facebook fan page in weeks, and I'm happy for them to keep that thing going forever and argue amongst themselves about stuff. I didn't even interject myself in there in the conversation because it's just, my point is that on your WR1 brands, you don't want that to happen. You want people to engage each other, but you want to control that environment. So the Facebook plugin, there's a couple of different ones out there if you don't want to use Facebook's own comment. Facebook.com has its own Facebook comment plugin. They have their own WordPress integrated plugin that they built in-house. Now, people have different, before everybody jumps on me about that, people have their different opinions about the Facebook plugin, okay? But the Facebook plugin does have an additional comments plugin that goes with it. And if you're in social markets or one of the macro trends that include wellness that we discovered, they do really well. Or if you're in a product launch formula kind of mindset, the Facebook comments work really, really well. As long as you're willing to manage them. Like, don't let them go off on their own. Okay, Optimized Press, if you're doing a product launch, also has a great comments plugin that you can just turn on the Facebook comment integration. You probably should use the feature to integrate with the Facebook app, just simply because it seems to work better and break less when you do that. But that's a double-sided thing I'm happy to talk to you about as well. If you have a specific question, Kevin, just email me on that. There's also a plugin that I use in WR2 that turns comments into individual pages in the blog to further your reach. I wanted Sue to check it out before I signed off on it, so that's not on your thumb drive because I didn't want you to blow yourself up with that. It's done a few things, like I've noticed some things, but I really need to sit down with the team and make sure that it's not micro-theming and undermining your silo structures before we use it.
That could be really cool.
Well, Sue is like, I talked about it, and you said it.
Yeah.
I really think that you should turn comments into pages. To me, it makes sense, and it's built by a guy who I really like, the same guy who wrote Link Automator, SEO Link Automator.
Okay.
And again, I want our team to check out it before we give it to these guys because it's pretty dangerous. It's pretty dangerous because you can add like 1,000 different additional pages.
Yeah, exactly.
And they do rank, they do index, so we'll keep you guys informed. But is that the kind of comment? So that's everything I know about comments and more. Were you looking for specific comment plugins to interact with your users, Kevin?
You can unmute him if you want.
I guess I could. Let me look at the attendee list. And Kevin, I'm going to try an experiment. I'm going to unmute you. Is muted. Attendee is muted by an organizer. Click to unmute.
Did it work?
Not allowed. I don't think I have the power or the control.
Muted.
Nope, I don't. I have no power whatsoever to do that. I'm powerless. Can you hear me?
Sorry, I muted myself instead of unmuting him. Hang on. Let me try one more time.
Oh, that scared me, yeah.
Connect to audio.
Okay. More on settings sections in WordPress. Yeah, okay, we can talk about settings, Kevin, for sure.
No, it doesn't seem to. Well, isn't that sad?
It is. Oh wait, I just unmuted.
You got Katerina unmuted.
Unmuted
Quick,
Katerina.
mute her.
Yeah, mute her. She's up to no good. How come they won't allow me to unmute Kevin?
You got Marcus unmuted.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, yes, I did. Well, why can't I
That's just
unmute?
Kevin. Kevin, what are you doing with your microphone? Maybe he doesn't have a microphone turned on.
Yeah, there's something wrong. I don't think he has a mic even. Yes, okay. Specifically, Kevin, what can I help you with on WordPress settings? What is your biggest concern? Okay. And again, your WordPress settings are generally going to vary. We had a question on the help desk this morning about the percent post name versus the category post name. And I noticed that our friend, our other Kevin on the help desk answered it specifically. One of the things that you guys need to know is that there are some themes that definitely do have custom menus disabled.
Yep.
I have a theme that I use in the video industry that I use to upload thousands of videos across multiple niches. It's simply, I use it only in a specific type of instance, but I cannot silo with it. It does have custom menus, but they designed the theme to work with a third-party application, which is similar to what we're doing with DWS. We integrate with a third-party application. But that's no reason, to me, it's a sign of inflexibility when somebody messes with the theme in a way that doesn't allow you to set the permalink structure. You really kind of have to be able to set the permalink structure to category post name in order to silo effectively, more or less. But some of them do not allow that. Like it will break. And the person on the help desk was trying to, change the permalink structure on a theme that just really doesn't have the robustness to do that. So that was one particular type of thing that you need to be aware of. Check your theme out. Not everyone silos. You can manually silo them most of the time, but more or less. Okay. Steve is asking, do you actually create link wheels using IFTTT? If this, then that, or do you really want to complete the wheel or simply keep it without completing the loop? I really have no idea what you're talking about. If you're talking about if this, then that as a service, I would avoid them. I have noticed some malfunctions on them, and they're a great service to use if you're trying to reach other services that they're the only thing they accept. Is that what you're talking about, Stephen? Link wheels? Are you talking about syndicating downstream, like on this map that Sue has here? From the WR1s to other. Okay. You can use you can use if this then that, Stephen. I've used it. Okay, downstream. I've used it specifically to try to crack Google Plus, and we have a solution for you already with Google Plus being able coming up here. I was just on the phone with Tom this morning. We actually have I don't know if I should drop this bomb, but we're going to have both Pinterest and Google Plus automated for you on our server, Sue.
Excellent.
Yeah, right. And it's really creating great traffic. So that's, I guess what I'm trying to answer, Steve, is like, geez, like if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. I hate it, but
Yep.
It seems to be what Sue and I have discovered. She's told me that for years, and I just finally started believing it. Main thing is, yeah, I like if this, then that for a couple of cool things. Like it's really good for, what's that picture service? It's good for things like Flickr and Picturegram, what's it called, Instagram. Mm-hmm. Those are things that if you really want to use it, Steve, you can. It's great. I mean, it never failed. It did a good job, but it doesn't do the things well that I need it to do. Like it does have trouble with some services. They're constantly updating their services. So I think it's a great concept, and if you want to use if this then that in a pinch for areas that you want to publish to, just make sure. Here's the one thing I would suggest: make sure that you get it coded properly so that it carries the image through. And you're going to need to tweak that a little bit. You just play around with the settings. IFTT, and folks, he's talking about ifthisthenThat.com. It's a service that allows you to kind of create your own programming for syndicating downstream. And again, just one of the settings, just check, Steve, make sure that your image is properly set and activated. And some of the services just resist that. I'm not sure why. But if it's working, test it. And if it continues to hit that cron for you and work properly, then I don't see it as a problem. I see it as a real alternative for some of those services that a Twitter feed does not connect to, like Instagram being the big one, because Instagram is really taking some market share. And you're going to want to watch them. And there's some other things coming as well, but forget about it with Google+. A friend of mine helped me program my Google+, publish from blog to Google+. My first attempt to publish automatically from Google+ to, from the blog to Google+ was using IFTT. And we were actually talking to Gmail and then talking to a cell phone number. So we were using Google to SMS through IFTT, then to Google+, and it was just perfectly awful for two reasons. One, it didn't pass the picture and the image, and 2, you couldn't pass active videos, and 3, it was actually 3, it looked a lot like an SMS text message on your Google Plus feed, which is terrible for conversion. So I just remembered that. So yeah, if you have any questions on that, Stephen, go ahead and email. I've used it a ton. But I would have, the better way is to use RSS feeds directly.
The other thing I would say is we don't actually recommend link wheels. We don't do the whole link wheel boogie at all, because the idea behind a link wheel is everything, you've got everything, like it's kind of sort of indicated here, but it's not actually what I intended to indicate. These things do not link around to each other. Everything on our in our system, in our ring system, links in. So this would link to here, would link to here, would link to here, would link to here.
Folks, the word is eccentric.
And
we are eccentric. We are not a link wheel.
Right.
And eccentric means it's moving inwards, down, and in towards the central of the body. And in body working, they talk about eccentric limb movement. It's moving towards the center.
Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, you guys are very eccentric.
And the reason for that, yeah, right. Do not do link wheels. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, the Google's got algorithms that watch for that at this point. And and I was never fond of link wheels anyway. I understand the reason behind them is they link to each other to get the page rank up, and then they pass the page rank in, because the links are, a link is what actually generates page rank, but it's just, it does horrible things to footprints in terms of being able to spot what's going on. And so Google's got algorithms that basically slam all those now. They have for about 8 months, 9 months? Yeah, 9 or 10 months at least.
I assumed as soon as Steve said it that when he said link wheel, that he was referring to publishing downstream.
Right.
Yeah, I remember. I was assuming that he didn't mean link wheels, but maybe he did. So it's good that we clarified that point. And we're talking about publishing downstream. You're always just pointing back to your sales site, right?
Yeah.
Okay, does that make sense, Steve? IFTT, great idea, but not robust on some of the other platforms. Give it a try. If it breaks, just be aware that it's a great idea. Like, I love it, but I would much rather use RSS feeds directly to feed the services if possible, wherever possible. So,
Marcus has got a really interesting question. I talked about shopping carts, pros and cons during certification, and if I were going to start from scratch, what platform would I use? I think the best thing that I ever put together in the way of a shopping cart was an HTML site with Google Shopping Cart. And the reason I really liked it was because it was really simple to implement. It's a couple lines of code on every page that you want to have the shopping cart show up on. And it's got Google, so people trust it. And then you can put, Google becomes your merchant account. They'll pass it right straight to your bank. The downer on Google is that there's nobody to talk to. So if you get in a position with your account that's not cool, there's not a person on the other end to talk to. So like if you want to close your account down, they have a pretty healthy, what do they call that, reserve that they want to maintain. It's a percentage of your sales that they want to maintain for chargebacks. And so that's the only real downer in my experience with them. So like when we terminated that store, we had $1,000 or $1,500 that was stuck in their merchant account for about 6 months, and then they released it. I mean, so long as you read the TOS to start with and you're happy with that TOS, they play very much by those rules.
I would answer that question a little differently, and not to argue with you. I agree with everything you're saying. The way I'd answer it is, what industry are you referring to in terms of shopping carts?
You mean what the product is? Clothing.
Yeah, what industry? No, I'm talking to him.
Yeah, he said clothing.
I can't see that. Where does it say clothing?
Right at the bottom. Maybe you're not, you got to sort by received, so it's the most recent things are at the bottom or at the top.
Huh. Yeah, I don't see anything about clothing.
Okay, anyway, he answered clothing. We can unmute him if you want.
Huh, I see the Northland Express example. I don't see anything about clothing. All right. Oh, clothing. There it is. I see it now.
Okay.
The bottom, my bad. Okay, well, that's helpful. Yeah, then that puts you in a...
Yeah, then you're going to need something that's a little bit more automated. You're going to want a CMS for that. And here's my thing with Magento. Magento in and of itself isn't an expensive platform, but a lot of the add-ons are expensive. So you just got to go into that knowing that it's not going to be cheap, and there's a lot of things in a lot of plugins that are written by people who don't have a clue about SEO. So you really want to take some care and examine the plugins before you actually buy them, because you can't return them once you buy them. I've recently been enamored with the Yahoo shop and the Yahoo, shopping, whatever it's called. It's not a shopping cart, but
yeah, I've been watching them for years.
Yeah.
Since I met somebody at the SEO conference a couple of years back, he was making huge amounts of money going through that cart. And they've
guys
gotten a
are
lot
still
better
making,
now.
yeah, and they're beautiful sites at this point. Like they rival Magento in terms of being.
Yeah, they do.
beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I haven't actually used one, so I can't say, hey, yeah, it's going to work great.
We're curious about it. I am too.
Yep. I think the next project I do would probably be in Yahoo just to experiment with it.
It's Yahoo e-commerce.
Yeah.
So these are things worth considering.
And
I don't know.
go ahead.
I was just going to say I still feel pretty old-fashioned. I don't know if the new Yahoo service you could put on your own server or not.
You can.
Okay, that'd be pretty cool because the other one you couldn't.
Yeah, you can have it on your, or at least it appears to be on your domain. I don't know. As I said, I haven't actually done it, so I don't know how it works. But you can get it off the Yahoo domain, so it doesn't look like, myshoppingcart.yahoo.com.
Yeah, I mean the experience that we've had with Northland Express and mostly Sue on the bigger infrastructural stuff is, just there's a lot of I guess as a persuader and a decision maker, I would just step back and tell you what I saw while she was consulting on the big infrastructure things with them. It's $1 million a month, or at least several $100,000 a month business. And one of the things that I noticed is that when you have giant merchant services like that, shopping cart services, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. And I noticed that they were trying to make all of those decisions all the time right now. And as a result, that it led to some fairly challenging decisions. For example, Sue brought a good point up a while back that the plugins for Magento are extremely expensive. And if you make one false move, you've just spent like $1,000 on something that didn't have anything to do with benefiting the site, increasing conversion, or persuading your customer to buy. Then there's all the conversion metrics and conversion architect. So there's just a lot that can go wrong when you have a really large system. So I strongly suggest that you really know what you're doing and find somebody who's actually implemented your particular system, and really take a look at what's going on in their experience.
Yeah, I haven't had. I'm not sure how to phrase this. I've had more people have problems ranking Magento than have been successful. And I haven't seen anybody on Magento rank for really competitive terms yet. And one of the reasons I became enamored with the Yahoo stuff was because Northland Express pointed me to a couple of their competitors that were outranking them viciously using Yahoo stores. So that was one of the things, and it was pretty. So that was one of the reasons why I'm intrigued to try that. And the other part of your question was a blog. So the thing about Northland Express that I didn't like in terms of their blog was that they put it in as a subdomain. So, they put it in as a subfolder. So This is WordPress, and the WordPress blog is embedded underneath the Magento blog. I'm sorry, the Magento site. And Magento has the option also to have a blog, a Magento-style blog, not a WordPress blog. Avoid the Magento blogs. They're terrible. So, and then the other thing I would do is I would stick the blog on a different subdomain. So I would go with like blog.northlandexpress if I had to do it over again. No problem, Kev. Sorry. We do have it all recorded, so you will be able to watch this. He just came back on.
Yeah.
So, like we did that with Network Empire too. We've got Network Empire /blog, so that it's all part of the same. I mean, Network Empire is in a WordPress format, so all of that is one huge WordPress blog, and I wouldn't do that again either. So, like, having had two examples or two experiences of having blog as a folder underneath a site, like, I don't like it. It's not flexible enough for me.
Right. I wanted to, on that note, I got really excited about my friend Dr. Livingston's cheat sheet on what he showed about, the big Land's End site versus and it's kind of what you were saying all along when you were consulting with that.
Okay.
I wanted to drop that in for these guys since these are advanced. I wanted to, because it actually demonstrates exactly what you were saying to these guys, which they couldn't really implement. Hang on, I'm a little.
Because I got two more things on conversions that we can talk about too. So.
I don't want to interrupt you. Just remind me.
No, let's go.
To show them that.
What are we looking at?
Well, I probably should switch to my desktop.
Oh, okay.
Just for a second.
Okay.
I wanted to show. Oh, but first, everybody, before she does that, look at the Northland Express kind of menu structure. This is what I actually am talking to them about this now.
Okay.
Just this concept is a really simple concept that I wanted to depart to Marcus, and the concept is just for me. Making sure that you don't have when you have a gigantic warehouse of stuff of this size, there's a tendency, and Sue pointed out early on, there's a tendency to create categories for the sake of creating categories and forgetting that the categories are designed for people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And I'm going to give you an example of something that I thought was great. If you just give me the control real quick, because I don't know. Or actually, I guess I could give you the link. Well, let me just switch over for a second.
Okay.
I'll make this pretty snappy. Can everybody see that?
We can see your folder.
Which folder?
Dr. Glenn Livingston, where your cursor's at.
Okay, cool. Let me know if you can't see anything. Glenn has been around for a long time. We've known each other since the museum launched. And the point I wanted to get across to you really quick on conversion, on price grids and everything, is really what he noticed in his testing. The more items specific to the search query, where there's a desperate problem, see how he's using the kind of painkiller terms that I use as well, the better it seems to do on pay-per-click. And the more relevant filtering options, the better the site seems to do in pay-per-click.
Right.
And this has to do with what Sue was saying the entire time, with our client Northland Express. And she continues to say that. Part of it's, remember, the human interaction as well as the SEO, and that's why the persuasion architecture, or the just specific for you, being item specific, there's more. Let's talk about this. But what I thought was really cool that hopefully helps it click into your brain is what he's calling hyper-relevancy, and that can trump or at least compete with a higher number of SKUs and better navigation. I thought this was really cool because he actually gave me the insider numbers. This is a site, Rainy Day Kids, that focuses only on one category that L.O. Bean and Land's End takes, and it's crushing it. okay, on those particular topics,
Yeah.
because the site is niched in a way that, when you come to the site, it's obviously very specific for these things. Now, there's actually nothing stopping people from creating this just for me kind of categories that are topic related. But a lot of the times what happens is they get into this library of what I call the Library of Congress state of mind. They're like, let's create this giant index or archive of millions upon millions of SKUs, right? And if it doesn't do well on pay-per-click, it doesn't really do well in the persuasion architecture for the average user either. So this is why you got to continue to test and continue to make sure that I just wanted to show you those 2 slides from his stuff. And again, making sure that it's just for the person. Remember who your product's for. If you have this general kind of attitude about every category rather than specifically targeting your customer for every category, I mean, he's noticing thousands of percent of less conversion. So
Wow.
that's all I wanted to share. I mean, it's major. Like taking that little extra time to produce the ultimate end benefit for that product category on large SKUs can manage thousands of percent higher in pay-per-research and pay-per-click, which he does full on. In fact, I don't know if you guys remember early themes of pay-per-research. Those are some of the early concepts that I learned from him when I was a student of his. And that's really cool just to remember on those really large categories. Okay, that's all I wanted to. And Sue is pretty much saying that.
There's an interesting thing that you can do with Magento is
you can take the screen back, Sue.
Okay. You can do. There we go. I think you guys can see my screen again. You can do multiple sites with one Magento package. And these guys actually have a site that they focus. I'll say on fireplaces. I don't remember exactly what it was now, but they picked one category and they focused just on that. And that site actually ranks a whole lot better for their target keywords than this site does. So that was a little bit of an aha moment for me with Magento. Now I believe they've changed this this menu structure. This was a menu that they bought, and it was all open HTML. Like the links to all of their subcategories were available on every single page, and it was bleeding their theme like crazy. And they've since replaced that with something that's JavaScript. It's more obfuscated, and we think that Google might not be able to read it. And in the meantime, they have come up in their rankings on some of their main keywords. So Marcus just said that he's not sold on Magento. A potential client asked about it. And like the only reason I'm still talking about it is because it is so popular at the moment. Like it's hands down the most popular.
And also it's good to, whether it's Magento or anything else, when it comes to my side of the fence, the persuasion architecture stuff, this is a great demo of a really difficult to manage inventory.
Yeah.
And what converts to. So I really love that Sue's talking about the silo in the SEO architecture, where primarily mostly what I care about is persuasion architecture. So I want to kind of get that into your guys' head. There's 2 transparencies. There's Sue's, just like we did with the 3 arrows, red, green, and blue. Sue's always, for the most part, is going to be talking about SEO and techno, and she talks about persuasion as well. My focus is on geez, what happens when you have 1 million products? How's that working for you?
So in the idea of conversion, this is something that they tested, they split tested, and found an amazing difference. You see these beautiful slideshows here, and this is a common thing that's part of the Magento package. They had some spectacularly gorgeous ones, and I don't think we talked about this in certification. They removed these on their silo landing pages, and their conversions went up something phenomenal, like 50%. So there's something to be said about, when you're landing on a page, I mean, these are really the terms that they're trying to rank for, right? These, even so they're broad, those are, at least over here, they actually want to rank for those terms. So when guys are hitting these pages, it's important for them to actually see the specific products bang out the box and not these really lovely
Yes.
artsy-fartsy.
And but very specifically, the reason I showed you Dr. Glenn's items is because I just explained to you why that works.
Yeah, but that's actually a different thing because you're like that's still artsy, but it's got products right there in it, right?
It's the same thing because what you're doing is you're addressing the actual just for that person. What's happening in the mind of the user is the same. Everything that addresses the pain, the way that Glenn talks about it, should be above the fold. That means prior to the click and prior to the scroll.
Exactly.
And all their testing, we're talking thousands, like orders of magnitude of conversion.
Yep.
And when you look at it, that's why I sent it immediately to Joe, the information that I found on that massive testing campaign, because it's very similar. You might have another banner in there that's specific to every category. If it was category specific, that worked in our testing. We won't know.
Right.
But what they were doing was very generalized.
And one other thing is I backed up over the weekend. I was doing some reading because I know the split testing authorities that I've listened to in the past, they're very specific about having an adequate amount of traffic go through your system in order to be able to say that you've got enough data to be able to make sense out of what you're seeing from the split test. And these guys are talking about even on sites where you've got a large number of people going through the site, and by large number I'm talking in the hundreds of thousands, you still want to leave your split testing up for at least a month, preferably several months, before you make a decision. And the other thing that they were talking about doing was split testing with the same page. So in other words, whatever software it is that you're using to split test, try split testing A against A to make sure that your split testing software doesn't have some kind of preference or some kind of error going on where it's going to come back and say, hey, page A is better than page A. Those two, obviously if you're split testing the same page on both halves, they should come back with something darn close to being the same level of conversion. So I just wanted to pass that on because it was foggy when we were in certification and I didn't remember the exact numbers. I just remembered that it needed to be a lot. All right. My soapbox is now firmly in the corner. How about yours?
Okay. I never put it in the corner, but don't get me started on split testing. I could go on all day about the controversies in that industry. But I mean, the bottom line is like if you do need a large order of magnitude of sales, and yeah, it's your area of expertise. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
I find it really interesting that looking for patterns. This gets us into something that's pretty esoteric. But like right now at Harvard, the big controversy over is there such thing as a random number, and the idea of testing large numbers versus small numbers and small split tests. That if you have a large enough group set, if you have a large enough number, there's no such thing as there's no such thing as patterns anymore. And a lot of this is being applied right now to the split testing industry because, I mean, split testing software, it's hard for me to believe this, but split testing software still is in its infancy.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting. And it's funny because as being a neuroscientist, I am actually falling more and more back on New Egg because, you know, I'm interested in addiction architecture. And I don't need like large numbers to determine if I know where the eyeballs are falling, you know, on the tracking system, I can kind of begin to, you know, create the addiction architecture. I think we'll see, you know, just so you guys know, like when Dan Airley and Dr. Gregory Burns, both neuroscientists who get paid mostly through their marketing consulting right now, which I find ironic and hilarious. Harvard, you know, neuroscientists getting paid by marketing companies. For the most part, what they're doing is they're moving towards creating more and more software that are really, where are the eyeballs going and is it drawing the click, right? And I love that. If you look at Newegg or those other things and you start seeing the patterns where the eyeballs go, I mean, more or less, where the eyeballs go is the first thing. And if you get the click after the eyeballs, I'm looking forward to, you know, using more and more of that in my own work. It's like, where's the heat map? If the eyes are here, or the mouse is being drawn here, which is what Newegg's about, is like where the mouse is hovering, and you actually draw the click. As an addiction architecture person, if I got, you know, 30% of my audience that is clicking this button down here, and
Right.
it's 5% over here when the mouse is drawn down to it, I'm going to leave that there.
Yeah.
You know, like split testing has always scared me because early on we talked, I mean, not scared me, but it just has to be done properly, like Sue's saying. So if you guys have any questions on a serious split testing campaign for a site the size of what we're looking at here, contact us first.
Yeah.
You know, and Sue will walk you through setting that up because you can really, what I'm really saying here is that you can blow your foot so far off. I mean, you can blow your whole self up.
Yeah. You
So
absolutely can.
So call us.
All right. Any other questions before we call it a day?
I think we should probably call this one. Let's go ahead and just confirm. Marcus is not. Okay, I think that's good. If there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and just, we have another one of these webinars coming up. Okay, Kevin's good for now. I'm glad to hear that. Marcus is good. All right, you guys, so don't hesitate to call or email us for any questions that you might have. And I guess I'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll do this again in about a month, and you guys should, I think I set it up so it'll be rolling, so you guys will be automatically subscribed to the next one. And I look forward to all of you making progress on your world domination. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.